Now we can start.
Hello.
Nicole is back.
Yeah, Nicole is back. And he's working? Hello?
Check, check.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Well, that was something, wasn't it? How many of you had never seen the movie before? Anybody?
Oh, really? Oh, you were hard up for entertainment.
Yeah. So I have to know, Mick. Obviously, this was one of the only Stephen King movies where it wasn't a book first.
Right.
He wrote the screenplay.
Right.
So I imagine he had to pitch it to you somehow, or maybe somebody else did. But like, you know, after a while, you can sort of like encapsulate a movie. It's like, oh yeah, that's the one about the shape-shifting incestuous werecats who drain the lifeblood of virgins. Right. But was there any kind of pitch, or
There wasn't a pitch. He had sold the script to the producers who sold it to Columbia.
okay?
And then I came and met. My agents were also King's agents. So we knew each other. We hadn't met each other before. So I met with the studio and we had a great meeting, and they said, "You've got this, but we have to meet with this other director because his agent, we have a relationship with them." So the next day they met with this other director and they hired the other director. So it was like, oh, well, that could have been fun. And I'd only done one movie before, well, two, counting Cycle 4, which was for Showtime, but the timeless classic Critters 2 was my first movie. Yeah, I know. But the other director they hired started rewriting it. And if you're calling it Stephen King's Sleepwalkers, it damn well better be Stephen King's Sleepwalkers and not Fred Schwartz's adaptation of Stephen King's Sleepwalkers. So he started rewriting it and created a planet of sleepwalkers and really changed it a lot. And so I got a call months later asking me to come and meet with them for lunch, and we had this meeting for lunch and we're talking about it. Well, we've decided not to go with this other director, and we're starting you today in pre-production, and here's your key to your office. And so I had no idea I was being hired for this movie. So it came back into my lap, and I never met Steve. I would have phone calls with him. There were notes that people wanted to address, and I would offer to do them, or King would say, "No, let me do it," and the next day there'd be 6 great pages in the fax machine. But there were things that I contributed to it with his approval, of course, because it's Stephen King's, of course. Like the Chillicothe Encyclopedia of Arcane Knowledge in the opening credits, because it really made even less sense before. And so there was at least a little background to who that was, and the idea of how the transfer of power is done from virgin to mother. That scene with the mirror of mother and son making love in front of the mirror, I wrote that scene. And because it was like, how does this happen? What do they want, and how do they transfer this life force? So that was something that I added to it. But it was really the beginning of a relationship with King. I only met him on the day we shot the cameo, where we had 2 hours in Franklin Canyon, right here in Franklin Canyon, in the cemetery, and it was him and Clive Barker and Toby Hooper all in one shot, not just one scene. One shot that you could cut immediately on the sheriff talking to Tanya in the police car. No one would know the difference except us. So that was where I first met him, and the second time I actually saw him was in New York, where I screened it for him and his wife Tabby at a little screening room in New York. And it was the greatest. He's screaming and jumping and laughing and hooting and hollering. He's the best audience for a horror movie you could imagine. And, you know, this is not going to be the one that goes down in history as the greatest Stephen King movie ever, but it sure is fun. And it keeps coming back. to haunt me in the best possible way. Like tonight.
Yes. Yes.
I
Excellent.
don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did.
Give
Yeah.
you a word salad.
We like word salad. Does anybody have any questions, or should I keep going? Yeah.
Yeah,
Just spilled this all. I didn't pee.
Oh no. Yeah. When you spill water on yourself, it'll listen.
Yes, it's
I
always
know-
right there.
listen, no disrespect. I mean, I know you could only answer so many questions, but I've had more than one. But was Sleepwalkers a myth, or where did the idea for the movie come from?
It was completely out of the mind of Stephen King. That encyclopedia of arcane knowledge, I made it up. It's just bullshit. But it sounds real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
1893, I think it was, the
I watched
original edition.
When I was 13, I totally thought it was real.
Well, you're supposed to.
Mythology.
I had librarians looking for that for years, and they couldn't find it on the internet, and it just drove them crazy, and I was going crazy.
I'm a really
But I'm like,
good
it's
liar.
real, it's in a movie.
It's in a movie, don't you see? Yeah, I lied.
Could, we all know that movies are movies, but by any chance, could a group of cats or a single cat sense that a person is in danger and save their lives? Or, I mean, because I've seen the movie when I graduated high school, and about a year later it was on cable, and I wondered for a minute if a cat could actually save a life.
I would like to think so,
Yeah.
but I think a dog is more likely to save your life. A cat's just that, bother me. A dog is, what do you need?
How? I have a question.
Yeah. Martin.
I wanted to ask about the editing of the film, because one of the things, watching it this time, we've seen it multiple times, but this time I just was really paying attention to the editing of the film and how tightly cut the film is. Could you talk a little bit about the editing process, and also maybe how closely it adhered to the script? Like, was there some scenes you took out, or anything that we didn't get to see?
There's a little bit of stuff we took out, mostly for the MPAA. It went back to the MPAA 5 times to get an R rating, and they said if we had to go back one more time, it was going to go out as NC-17.
That's crazy.
But there were stupid things, like when Andy, the black cop, gets shot in the stomach. You used to see that in the original cut, and he gets pulled back, and we had to cut that. We had to cut movement. The scene with mother and son having sex was all shot in one elegant shot, from the mirror down to their clothing on the floor, up across the bed, and his butt is moving up and down, and it was all just one elegant shot until we land on their faces and the like. The MPAA didn't like butts moving up and down, because when you have sex, you don't move. They don't. But things like that. But also, this was an editor I'd never worked with before, Nicholas Brown. And he was very intimidating. I was a new filmmaker at this time. I'd only made, Psycho 4, Critters 2, a couple of TV things. And this was my first and last studio picture as a director. And he had done lots of stuff. He was under contract. He had just done Return to the Blue Lagoon with them, with Brian Krause starring. But he was constantly kind of pushing himself on me. And I kind of learned how to stand up for myself on this movie, because, most sets I've been on have been very amicable and everybody in it together to make the best movie possible. But in studio movies, there's a hierarchy, and people will try to pull rank on you. And if they sense weakness, like a shark, they'll attack. And so, working with Nick Brown, who's a very good editor, but we had definite disagreements, and he was not a guy very well versed in horror movies. So that, and my director of photography, Rodney Charters, who I found, he shot all of the Friday the 13th TV show. And really talented guy. He was in a little over his depth on this, and halfway into it, the studio wanted to fire him. And although I agreed that his work could be improved upon, I realized if they could fire my director of photography, they would do anything they wanted to. And so I had to kind of put up a fight. So those were two stations where I learned how to buckle down and, learn fisticuffs. Yes, Nicole.
What's it like directing cats?
It's directing a herd of cats. Actually, it was easy. It was, for one thing, I had a second unit director, but that's not why it was so easy. These cats were so well trained. There were 126 of them, and when they're all on the lawn and on the roof of the house and everything, they all have tiny little harnesses that are nailed into the ground that they've been trained to use, and they're very happy, they're very content. But working en masse, when they're treat oriented, and you have a clicker that you use, and when they hear the clicker, that means there's treats nearby. So they go toward the clicker. And we use them. Now I just told Jesse, there were 9 cats cast as Clovis, each with a specialty. One to run up a tree, one to hiss, one to be nice, one to cuddle. Sparks the cat was so fucking good. He's in every shot but two angry hissing shots. And if you listen close in the sheriff's station, when Andy goes down to pick up Clovis, you can hear.
Oh.
Great.
And it's real. So working with the cats, I thought would be a nightmare, and it was a dream.
Love to see that.
Yeah.
I had never noticed before until watching it here. It seems like there's like that glimmer thing that she does. I noticed it subtly throughout the whole movie, like in the background. I always saw this like wave coming through the background. Am I right, or am I seeing things?
Well, what you were seeing was this screen was rippling.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought
So
it was part of
wasn't
I
all
thought
the
it was a
way through.
glimmer thing going on. Like, I never
No,
noticed
I
that
noticed
before.
that too. I go, boy, this seems very dreamlike.
Yeah, I kept noticing. I was like, is she doing something? Because there was a lot of times it was scenes that they were in.
This.
Okay.
It was doing that.
I did
So,
notice.
yeah.
I did notice that the color
ripple
palette.
effect.
Well, the
Oh,
color
yeah.
palette of the film is very romantic.
It's very amber. It's very candlelight, and
Yeah.
I didn't always want it to be like that, but that was one of the trademarks of the cinematographer that I tried to fight him out of.
Gotcha.
Most of the time at night and whenever there were candles and the like, I like that, but there are daytime scenes that are amber toned.
It's got a summer glow to it.
I tried to time it differently. It looks better on the Blu-ray than it looked in the theater.
Did you keep anything from the movie?
I have a bust of Brian's head with the mask on it of his halfway stage. What else? I think that's all I've got from the movie. Yeah. I've kept other things. I have one of the topiary lions from The Shining outside my office.
Right.
I have some critters. And my costume from Thriller is on display at Motop in Seattle. I was one of the zombies in Thriller. Yes.
The movie was also early morphine, wasn't it?
It was one of the first 2 morphing movies.
Yeah.
They were making Terminator 2 at the
I think they talk about it on the
we
Blu-ray.
were we were in production while Terminator 2 came out, and the same company did some of our. Well, no, Digital Domain did theirs, and ours was the company that did Black and White, the Michael Jackson video. And so it was very complicated, and there are a lot of things that were very time-consuming, including motion control, so that to the point where rather than repeating motion control, they tell you it's going to be 4 hours, double that, and then quadruple that. And so I would do camera moves that would repeat, but then stop at the end of the dolly, and that's where the morph would take place. So it would save lots of time and money, and still have the effect of the morph taking place.
The car
during
morph
the-
looks really great still.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but we were the second morph movie to come
Yeah, I remember that on them talking about on the special features on the Blu-ray. That's why I
You
was
pay
like, I'm gonna ask
attention,
that.
don't you?
Nick,
Yeah.
Well, it always interests me when directors have certain songs, like in the dance sequence, you have Sleepwalk, obviously a fantastic pick. Did I always know though that the studio likes to have their own hand in picking music. Did they try to fight you on that, or did they want a different song or anything?
I think we were flying under their radar.
Yeah.
This was a $15 million movie in 1992, which for a studio picture shot on the lot was very low budget. But Sleepwalk was written into the script by King. Do You Love Me was written into the script by King. Here Comes Johnny with His Pecker in His Hand was written into which, by the way, was a country western hit at that time. But they kind of let us do what we needed to because nothing was expensive. Now, there were two other movies shooting on the lot at that time. One was Coppola's Dracula, and the other was Hook, Steven Spielberg. So it was Steven, Francis,
They're focusing on that.
Something didn't sound right. But during the dancing scene where Charles is reanimated to dance with Tanya, Steven Spielberg came over to visit because he was the first guy to ever hire me as a writer on Amazing Stories. So he came over and just kind of asked if he could watch. And I said, yeah, what do you want? Can I help you with anything? No, I'm just watching. So it's like being Uncle Steve to the nephew who, let's see how he's doing. And what I realized was the next day he called me and asked me if I would direct Plastic Man, a movie that never got made. So I said yes, but somebody said no.
the levels. That's the thing with studio pictures.
Yes.
There are always multiple
Yes.
tiers of getting something done. You
Yeah.
can't just do it.
There's a lot of ways to say no and not many to say yes.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a lot of people's different take on this, and I would love to hear yours. The relationship of humor and horror.
Well, horror comedies as a subgenre are pretty dire in most cases because they're usually neither funny nor scary. I think if you approach them both with respect, with that they feed each other rather than fight each other, this isn't a horror comedy, but there's a lot of humor in it. And horror, by its very nature, can be outlandish, and some ways to embrace it is with complete seriousness, and other ways is to realize, to be ahead, Joe Dante is really great at this, to be ahead of the audience. So he will make fun of what's going on before the audience does, in time for them too, and it's a great celebration of that. I think in this case where you've got werecats with mothers and sons fucking, it's hard to be really academic about it. So embracing the audaciousness of it, and yet play it straight. Here we've got this great actress, Shakespearean actress in Alice Krieger playing Mary Brady, and she just was completely dedicated to it. And everybody plays it like Shakespeare. Because if you play it, with trombone music, wah, 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 and play it for jokes, it's dire, it's not funny. But my only other comedy was Critters 2, my first movie, and it was the same thing. Play the horror for horror, and play the humor in a way that's really character-based.
Yeah, I think my favorite in this was Get the Motherfucker, Clovis. It's a great foreshadowing.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you have any hand in the casting, or was that already chosen?
No,
prior?
I was, fortunately, I got involved before any of the casting was done. So I had fallen in love with Alice Krieger in Ghost Story. And there's this sensuality to her, and this intelligence to her, and a mysteriousness to her in real life as well as on the screen. And I just thought she was amazing. The studio introduced me to Brian Krause because he was one of the very last actors to be on a studio deal, to have a
picture deals.
studio contract rather than an individual film contract. So, and Machen was known because of
Twin Peaks.
yes, and everybody loved her, and to this day, I mean, she's great. I got
She's
to work
great.
with her again on her TV show, Witches of East End.
Oh yeah,
Did
yeah,
an
yeah.
episode of
I've
that.
got that.
And
I didn't bring that one.
just this whole cast, Ron Perlman, we worked together again on Masters of Horror, and he was in Desperation, and just when you meet actors you love to work with, you look for an opportunity to do it again. So it's a shortcut to getting good performances without having to spend a lot of time in dialogue.
I'd imagine you had some pull with the number of cameos as well.
Yeah, well, those are friends, and you know, opening night at the Chinese Theater, it was sold out. It was the #1 movie the week it opened, and so I went to see it at the Chinese Theater, sold out, and you could tell the us versus them in that audience because when Stephen King and then Toby Hooper and Clive Barker show up, you hear, "That's Stephen King, that's Toby Hooper, that's Clive Barker, that's Joe Dante, that's John Landis." You know, it was a party for us. You know.
Yeah, and you just get that camaraderie feeling here, just the same way you get it from like Masters of Horror. Like it's like you just hanging out with your horror buddies.
Yeah,
and that's
and-
what it feels like.
And directors never work together, you know, so the opportunity to have them on the set, first of all, it brings everybody's mood up. To have, oh, my friend is here, and oh, that's the guy who made the Blues Brothers, or oh, that's the guy who made Texas Chainsaw, both guys. And they all really enjoy it. Directors are hams. You know? They're failed at actors because they look like me.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Anybody
that-
else?
So I have a question about the soundtrack. It's very ethereal. I noticed that Enya was like one of the musicians on there. Whose idea was behind it? Because it's unorthodox, but it really works very well with the film.
Well, it's unorthodox. Mainly that cut by Enya was something that was just going to end the movie. And originally I'd actually gotten Crowded House to do a song for the end titles. And I really love Crowded House, and it was a great song. But the studio said, no, we like the Enya cut that you used to temp it with more, and we can afford that. So we embraced that, but then Nicholas Pike, who was my normal composer, we had a 60-piece orchestra, and in 1992, horror movies that cost $15 million rarely had 60-piece orchestras. So it was really important to me to have an organic score, and with organic acoustic instruments, as well as the electric. You know, he brought in a band to do the car chase scene, the cop chase, all of that with the heavy-duty rock and roll lead guitar licks and all that. But the idea to get a sense of dread and mystery and the ethereal quality you're talking about. Nicholas is a brilliant composer. When I was doing a project with Michael Jackson, I brought Nicholas in, and Michael fell in love with this and had a 90-piece orchestra for that. It was amazing. Nicholas first did Critters 2 for me. So there's a $4 million New Line independent movie with a 40-piece orchestra.
Wow.
Non-union 40-piece orchestra. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would change about the film or leave it perfect?
There's nothing perfect about this movie. But I'm always of the opinion that when you're done, it's time to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Not everybody does,
I would
though.
still be working on it otherwise.
Yeah.
And I just think you can get so caught up in it, in the minutiae, that no one else will notice, and you have to pay attention to what's important, meet your deadlines, meet your budgets, all of those things, and then let it rest and move on to the next one.
Yes.
So
Just
maybe I
really
should have
quick.
spent more time on it.
Just on that note, how many days did you guys have to shoot?
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
This was a 40-day shoot. Yeah, 40 days.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I do recommend if you guys like this and Masters of Horror, if you haven't seeing Nightmare Cinema,
Yes.
which you saw a couple of years ago, or
We'll show that next.
Yeah, hey,
It's a great
let's do that
movie.
next.
It's a great movie.
Nightmare
last
Cinema is a
movie,
lot of fun. It's an anthology. Where basically, and of course Joe Dante is in it, but also David Slade does a really cool, creepy
Really
short.
cool.
in
And
there.
Alejandro Brugués did something that's really funny.
The spider cam is incredible.
And then
Yeah,
I did one called Dead that's a ghost story.
yeah,
I think I discovered it on Shudder. I think it was on.
yeah.
I don't think it's on Shudder anymore.
No, and then I bought the Blu-ray.
What's
so
for
it's like,
rent here?
Yeah.
For rent.
Yay!
Bam! Physical media.
So thank you, everybody. If there's anything else, this is an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Where was the movie made, and is it called Bodega Bay?
Bodega Bay is a real place, and it's in the Birds, which is why King
Oh, yes.
came up with that name. But that was shot in Malibu, and the movie was shot in town on the Sony lot in Culver City, and at Franklin Canyon, right here off of Laurel Canyon, between Laurel and Goldwater.
How does Mark Hamill get involved in that very first scene?
The opening and closing scenes were not in the script. And we finished shooting the movie, and the studio was unsatisfied. So I'm laying myself bare naked in front of you now. But so I was not happy about that, but they said, we'll give you another week of shooting. So King wrote another couple of scenes, and one of them was the opening, and the other is the closing. And so I went, my first job in the movie biz was answering phones for the original Star Wars in 1977. And so I met Mark Hamill through that, and we became friendly. And now there was just an article in Entertainment Weekly saying, Mark Hamill saying he didn't remember making Sleepwalkers. And then he said, oh yeah, I remember, I knew Mick Garris. Everybody loved Mick Garris. You know? I didn't know about that. But
shout out.
yeah. So Mark agreed to do it. I said, but you notice he doesn't get credit.
Yeah.
He didn't take the credit. He wanted to do it, and that mustache was his idea, not mine.
The bowl cut.
Yeah, and the bowl cut.
Yeah, I love it.
He loves the mustache.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I have your book, A Life in Cinema, and I was wondering if you had any more plans to do any more
I
fiction?
have several other books,
Oh, okay.
or a handful of other books, but A Life in the Cinema was first. Most recent one, well, Abby Bernstein wrote a biography of me called Master of Horror, which she did a great job of making a boring life more interesting. And my most recent book of fiction was These Evil Things We Do. That is a novel and 4 novellas that are available, and some of them are, the novel and the novellas were available individually before they were collected. So yeah, I've done more books than people know about.
Cool.
For good reason.
We'll go out and buy them. We're
Yeah,
gonna go out and buy his
Well,
books.
buy them now, yeah. They're all out of print by now, but they're fetching a pretty penny. In fact, my first book, which you have, Clive Barker painted the cover, Stephen King wrote the introduction, and Toby Hooper wrote the afterword. So it's the cast of Sleepwalkers. So you don't even have to like what I do to enjoy having the book in your possession. Especially if you have the $750 version where all of them signed it. And
Wow.
It's an all-star signing right there.
Yeah, Mark.
I was gonna say, ask in this era of reboots and sequels and reinventions and whatnot, has anybody ever approached you about a Sleepwalkers TV show or a mini-series, a remake of some sort?
I'm kind of surprised that they haven't done a remake. Maybe it's because it's so twisted and we are even more conservative now than we were in the 90s. But they wouldn't come to me. They would come to whoever had done Saw 32.
Darren Bothman.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah,
this was a
thank
lot
you.
of fun. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mick, for hanging out with us. And
Great to see you.
this was so much fun, and it was great. I couldn't have asked